Hi YouTube, this is Joe Kelton with Kelton Cutlery. You can find me on the web, keltoncutlery.com. Okay, so I couldn't stop. I should really be inside cooking dinner. But, you know, at the end of the last video I said I ought to fire up the microscope, and then that way we can take a look at the edges, you know, underneath the microscope, and then you can kind of see a little bit what I'm talking about with the different edges just by looking at the scratch patterns. Because we're going to take a look at the edges that we just made, okay? And then I'll probably go in, cook dinner, and then after dinner, if I get a chance, I'll come back out here and go ahead and do a rope cutting test. And then, honestly, it'd be really cool to take a look at the edges underneath the microscope after that, and then see, you know, how the edges wore down, you know, through the manila rope. So anyway, so this is the same opinel. This is opinel 325. You know, so named for the edge that it's wearing. I don't know why I forgot to bring you up closer. Okay. All right, now I need a pointer. I always forget the pointer. Okay, so this is the 6,000 grit one right here. We're just gonna kind of use it to see a couple of things. Okay, now all these scratches right here, okay, those are the scratches in the finish of the knife. Okay, so these we did not make. All right, all we made was from here-ish, so sometimes it might be down to here, sometimes it might be up to here. Like I said, this is freehand sharpening, so, you know, from here-ish to here. That is the edge that we made. This is the 325 grit edge off of the DMT stone. Okay, now I'm hoping you'll be able to see enough of this in the camera, but this right, oh, you know what, this must be tilted somehow. Oh. Okay, so this right here is the biggest reason why I love diamonds, okay? I mean, they say diamonds are a girl's best friend, but they're also a knife nut's best friend, okay? Just a little bit, you just buy them from a different store. There, okay. See these, so these scratches right here, right? These, some of these, you know, these are the scratches left by the diamonds, okay? Now remember, in the last video, when I told you about creating micro bevels versus you know, stone stropping, and the way that the diamond stone looks underneath the microscope versus a waterstone, and how you got those big old jagged peaks and everything, right? Okay, well, those peaks are very, very sharp. I mean, they're the corners of diamonds, right? And so the scratch pattern that is left in the steel is very, each one of those scratches has got very sharp edges on the edges of the scratches. Does that make any sense? So the edges of the scratch are sharp because the diamond that created the scratch was sharp. Okay, so it'd be kind of the, you know, I don't have an analogy for that. I'll have to think of one. But because the edges of each one of those scratches are so sharp, what you get is you get these little micro teeth. Okay, and because the diamonds are really sharp and they create gouges that have got sharp edges in the steel, that means that those teeth are extremely sharp. Okay, and that's what gives diamonds that very crisp, very clean edge feeling. Okay, so when you take this edge and you draw that thing through the manila rope like we're going to, you know, after dinner, it feels crisp. Okay, you get a much cleaner cut with much, much less force than you have any right to expect. I mean, it's just, there's something magical about it. Now, granted, this is my absolute all-time favorite edge at this moment, and so, you know, I really like it. So that's why I talk nice about it. Okay, so this is the 325 grit edge. I wonder if, you know, I wonder if I can get this other edge to come up and be in the same picture. Without them contacting. I mean, they're there it comes. No, it's not going to come into focus. Okay, so just remember that. Well, I guess you got a pause button, right? Where are we at here? There. Okay, now there are going to be some differences in the way that the light gets reflected off of the edge, because I don't think I'm going to be able to match the angle of the blade as it's sitting underneath the microscope. I mean, this is pretty close, but it's but it's not exact. So there will be some variation. So now you look at that edge. Okay, now this edge right here, you can tell right off the bat, is much, much smoother. Okay, I mean, it's still got teeth, don't get me wrong, it's still got the teeth, but the teeth are much, much smaller. Okay, so that would be, let's strap that on my palm to get rid of some of the junk. There. Okay, so remember, these scratches right here are the blade finish. From here, is that right? Or did I lay it back while I was sharpening it? Ah, what we're seeing is the curve. Okay, so we're seeing a little bit more of a curve in that. Remember, the blade is convex ground, right? So these scratches right here are coming up here, and it's making them look like they're kind of curved this way a little bit, but they're not. They're still going straight to the edge. So this is your blade finish. From here to here is what we did on the 6,000 grit stone. Okay, now you can see here where there's actually little bitty glints of light right here. This actually looks like a little bit of a bird that didn't get removed when I was, either it didn't get removed when I was pulling it through the wood, or it was created, you know, maybe I did a half a stroke too much when I came back in to smooth out the rips and everything. Okay, but you can see how much, I mean, there are teeth in here, because there has to be teeth in between the grooves that were cut by the waterstone. Okay, but they are much, much, much finer. All right, so this edge right here is not going to have the same saw type cutting ability as the 325 grit edge does. Okay, they're both still sharp. I mean, you saw them both. They took hair off my arm. So they're both still sharp, but they're sharp in a little bit different manners. All right, but this right here is what your 6,000 grit edge looks like. So now I need coffee. So now we are going to take a look at the, we'll call it a 30,000 grit edge because that's what I've heard chromium ox referred to as. And this one's got a bigger handle, so we're going to have to and it's got a whole bunch of trash on it. We just palm strop that. Okay, now the problem that we're running into, the edge looks whited out, right? That's because the edge is a mirror, okay? And so the light coming down, off the microscope is hitting that mirror polished edge and then bouncing back up. Which is why it looks, you know, why you can't hardly see anything. So let's play with maybe changing the angle a little bit. If we can get our angle changed just enough to where the light doesn't reflect there. That, my friends, is a polished edge. Okay, so you can still see, actually, you know what, okay, so this is our blade finish right here, right? These scratches right here in the transition in between the edge and the blade finish, these could be, you know, either from the first time I sharpened it, you know, maybe I put a 325 grit edge on it and that's what some of these deeper scratches is. But the 6,000 grit edge, remember I was sharpening like this, okay, not like this. Now let's see. I was sharpening like this, not like that, which means that the 6,000 grit scratches should be running this way, which means that that 30,000 or that strop with the chromium oxide, the linen, and the leather, it completely wiped out those 6,000 grit scratches. And these scratches that are up in here are more than likely trash that's in the linen side of my strop. You know, I mean, it just is. I mean, you try to keep those things clean, but there's dust in the air and it comes down and it settles on your strop. You know, you can try, you know, keeping it covered. You can, you know, try wiping it down, you know, occasionally, but they're gonna be there. But anyways, you can see now that that edge is just completely smooth. There are, I mean, there's a tooth every now and again, like there's a couple up in here, where there's just ever so slight amount of teeth, you know, that honestly they're not even really worth writing home about. But it's just completely smooth. So this this edge, all right, will have hardly any sawing ability. Okay, the only way that this edge cuts is shearing. Okay, so let's grab our piece of rope here. So if you got a piece of rope, and I don't want to mess up the other edges until we get to cutting it. Okay, here. All right, so this is my everyday carry knife. So this rope, if I want to cut this rope, okay, if I've got a toothy edge on there, all right, I can draw it, okay, and the teeth that are in that edge will slice through that rope, okay. If I have no teeth, then that edge will just, it'll feel like it's skating over the top of it, because it is. There's no teeth to be cutting into it, all right? The way that this edge cuts is by shearing through the material, not by slicing through the material, okay? Which is a pretty important distinction. And I have a feeling that we are going to really see this when we get into the cut test portion, you know, as we get to, you know, cutting stuff. I think we're really going to see a big difference in the motion that you have to use with the knife, okay? So whether you use a drawing cut or whether you just have to push through it, I think the cuts that we do, the different edges will favor the different motions, okay? And I mean, I've seen that in, you know, just experience using a knife, but I've never actually sat down and done something like this, where you take identical knives with identical geometry, or as close as we can get, identical heat treats, or as close as we can get, and just change the edges. I've never done something like this on film, okay? And honestly, I've never seen anybody else do it before either, which is, to a knife nut, that's what makes this like super, super exciting, okay? And yeah, it just is absolutely exciting. Okay, so I think I'm going to go ahead and leave all this set up. Like I said, I'm going to go cook dinner, and then if I get a chance, I'll come back out here tonight and we'll do some rope cutting. And then, you know, put the edges back up underneath the microscope and see what kind of differences there are. You know, I almost should have made marks on the blades so that we're looking at the same section, because, you know, I mean, if you look at this section right here and it looks like that, well, now we pull it back an inch or so and, you know, you get a little bit different view. I guess it's not going to matter. I mean, I think if we try to get too in depth with this, it might quit being fun. So we'll just do what we got and have some fun with it. Okay. So one more thing. So somebody was asking me a while back how much magnification this is. All right, and honestly, I don't know. Okay, so the microscope, it's a stereo microscope, so it's like a, I think with the highest lenses I got on here, I might be able to get to like 40 or something. But you've got your straight up, you know, your glass magnification, okay? And then you've got the magnification in the camera. And then you've got your digital magnification in the TV. This is a 27-inch TV, and it's taken up, oh, what, 24 inches of it or so, something like that. So what I'll do is I'll just show you, that's a pencil point, okay? I'm going to find it, oh, there it is. So that's the amount of magnification. This pencil is a little bit duller, but so, you know, whatever times magnification that is, that's about what we're looking at. I guess it really doesn't matter. I mean, the greatest thing is that I can, you know, say, oh, it timed out. The greatest thing about this whole setup is I can take this pencil now and I can show, okay, well, this is the stuff that we're looking at right here. And then you and I are both looking at the same thing, and I can explain different things. So, again, this is Joe Calton with Calton Cutlery. You can visit me on the web, caltoncutlery.com. Hope you enjoyed the video. Like I said, if you got any ideas for the cut tests, cutting tomatoes, cutting carrots, cutting bell peppers, you know, with that hard kind of waxy skin on the outside, rope, different kinds of rope, you know, any of that kind of stuff, you know, if you want to see a comparison between these three edges, now would be the time to drop a comment below, and then I'll see if I can't hook you up and include that in the test that we're going to do. So again, this is Joe Calton at Calton Cutlery. You can visit me on the web, caltoncutlery.com. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we will see you next time.